Pillars of Eternity 1 Complete Edition Guide. In this case, we have a Chanter build, tank Chanter. I gave you a build for the range Chanter on Kana, companion Kana. Now we're creating the main Watcher that's gonna be a flat tank that melts enemies around him. Let's create a Chanter. As far as the character creation goes, we want to be a Godlike. And now there are 3 different builds for a Godlike as a melee Chanter, or better to say as a tank Chanter. Fire Godlike is an aggressive tank Chanter. Moon Godlike is a supportive tank Chanter, while Nature Godlike is flat tanky tank. Your choice what you wanna do. I tell you what does what. In this case, for this presentation, we're gonna pick a Fire Godlike to melt enemies around our Chanter tank. And we say next. Considering you're a tank, I guess we want a body type of a Mua, and we pick a Chanter. Now, what do we take from phrases? The very first phrase that we're gonna take is Come Soft, Winds of Death. We're gonna abuse this early on in a game. And the next one is Dull the Edge, Blunt the Point, or reducing enemy slash and pierce damage. And we say next. As far as invocation go, or better to say the spell, there is nothing better than to summon a Phantom early on in a game. Phantom is very, very powerful summon. As far as attributes go, we need to sacrifice something for the tank Chanter to be valid, because Chanters require a lot of attributes. What we're gonna sacrifice is action speed through dexterity. And now we need high constitution, we need solid might, we need solid perception, we need huge intellect, and we need great resolve. This is how it's supposed to look like. Big constitution. You can even sacrifice perception and go like this: 14, 17, 7, 12, 14, 14. And now you're ready to play as a Chanter tank. What do we cover? We cover deflection, we cover area of effect, we cover additional accuracy, we cover huge health pool that we're gonna need as a tank, and we cover some fortitude and to pack a punch. Yeah, what we sacrificed? We sacrificed action speed, because tanks are usually slow. You're gonna be in heavy armor, that's a lot of action speed down. Whether it's gonna be 50 or 60, that really doesn't matter. Yeah, this percentage is literally the same. So you're there to chant and soak up damage. Now, as far as the culture goes, or better to say the background, we're taking a Rautai, or better to say extra constitution on top of the soul. As far as the background goes now, we are taking athletics and lore as a Chanter, and that would be that. Let's level up our tanky Chanter. For the level 2, we are going into survival until we reach survival 7 points for damage reduction tier 2. And we say next. For the next invocation, now we have a summon, and after the summon, the best one to take by far is stun for 6 seconds, or better to say the thunder rolled like waves on a black seas. That's the one we're gonna take. For the talents, we immediately go into weapon and shield style into defensive talents. And we say next. On level 3, as I said, survival, and we say next. Now on phrases, the last phrase from tier 1 that we're gonna take is at the sight of their comrades, their hearts grew bold, for the extra fortitude and will friendly aura. On level 4, we're keeping up with survival, and for the last spell, or better to say an invocation, in tier 1, we're gonna take some defenses with not felled by the axe nor broken by the storm. As far as the talents go, we immediately go with hold the line into defensive talents, and now we became a great tank early on in the game. On level 5, we're sticking with survival, we say next, and now phrases tier 2 are open. What we're gonna take for the phrase here is Lo, their endless host, the Harbinger's Doom, or better to say we're gonna fright enemies around us. On level 6, now we can go into survival, and this is where we stop for damage reduction tier 2. The rest of the points will all go now into athletics and nowhere else. And the spell, the invocation that we're gonna take is Paralyze. With the sound of his voice, the killers froze stiff. Paralyze on 10 seconds, it's just way too good to skip. Why we're not taking summons? Because Shadow is still extremely powerful as tier 1 summon, and we're waiting for summons on tier 3, so we're gonna completely skip summoning, and we're gonna go for crowd control now. on tier 2. For the talents, we're going into defensive talents again, and again we're taking extra deflection and penalty to attack speed, because the penalty is already huge. You don't need to attack, you need to soak up damage. Cautious attack provides us with deflection, and we're gonna take cautious attack. For level 7, where now we go all into athletics, we say next. And for the phrases, we're going with the 1 doesn't stood against the power of the saint, or better to say extra defenses against fright and terrify. Level 8, keep pumping up those athletics. And for the next invocation, or better to say for the next spell, we're gonna take some healing with Rejoice My Comrades, 2 Fingers of Daylight. And we say next. For the talent, we're going into defensive talents again. We go all the way down. We take superior deflection. On level 9, we keep up with athletics. And now on tier 3 is the biggest power spike for the Chanter in the entire game. Why? Because of the Dragon Trash, the Dragon Wailed. Now you're gonna start melting enemies around you 24/7. And this is the best power spike on the Chanter. On level 10, we go into athletics. Now, as I was speaking about the best power spike in the game, here comes the 2 ogres. These 2 are absolutely nuts when you summon them, and this is like how you're gonna play Chanter from now on, which I'll explain a bit later. The point is to soak up damage, engage enemies as much as you can, sing in their faces and melt them. They also gonna melt because you're a fire godlike, and on top of it all, you can summon ogres that are also huge tanks, and they hit a punch. So this is the biggest power spike, level 9 and level 10 for the Chanter. And now it's time to go into Ancient Memory talent for some slight endurance recovery AoE chant while you chant. On level 11, we go with athletics, and now we can take also the friendly aura for burn damage, or we can opt in for flat deflection, because we took the dragon chant to melt enemies around us. We can't take both, yeah, for the burn damage and for this one. So you gotta be careful now what you take. If you have more companions that gonna deal burn damage, then yes, you should go with this one and melt enemies like this. But in this case, I guess you won't have that many companions that deal fire damage, then we're gonna go with flat up deflection. On level 12, we're sticking with athletics. And now for the invocation, or better to say for the spell, we got 2 options. One is to raise Might, Constitution and Resolve. The other one is to raise Dex, Perception and Intellect. Or better to say, the first one is to raise Tankiness. The second one is to raise Accuracy. Or better to say, your chance to hit. Friendly AoE is the case here, so we want chance to hit on everyone. For the talent, we're taking Beloved Spirits, an upgrade for the previous talent. On level 13, we're keeping the points for level 14. And now for the phrase, we're gonna take flat defenses against Confuse, Dominate and Charm, and plus 20 to Will with They Shielded Their Eyes against the Vampyre's Gaze. On level 14, we're going with athletics now. And now we got 2 great options. The first option is to summon a Swamp Spore that can charm enemies, so that would be like double summons basically when you summon a spore. And the second option would be damage reduction additional with attack speed and interrupt on our tank. So what we want to take here is a very good question now. I recommend the spore, but you're not wrong if you go with their champion Brave the Horde alone. Anyways, let's stick with what Rao Naka found down the deep. As far as weapon focus goes, we need some accuracy in order to hit, and the best accuracy and generally speaking the best attack speed provided on this tank would be with a spear. Okay, so we should aim for the spear, because there is a great spear that all allies benefit from. Okay, not only the Chanter. So what we're gonna take here is Peasant weapon focus for the spear proficiency. We get accuracy, and the spear is gonna be marvelous on this tank. On level 15, we're going with athletics. And now tier 5. This is very simple. This is a Dragon Slayer tier. With all your strength, slay the beast. When you fight dragons as the big bosses, this is the one you wanna chant. Damage against beasts, or better to say damage against dragons. Dragon Killer chant. There's a lot of dragons in the game. And for the level 16 and the final invocation, what we're gonna take is the animated greatsword, animated pike, animated warbow, the best freaking summon that exists in a game. Call to his bidding. The ancient instruments of death are just one of the best spells in a game, but that's far too late in a game, but still worth mentioning. Yeah, this is the one you want to take. As far as the less talent goes, you got plenty of options. I recommend Unstoppable. You're not wrong if you go with Body Control or Mental Fortress. As long as you get some defenses for the final talent, you're good to go. Now comes the itemization for the Chanter, for the tanky Chanter. So what about armor? Only heavy armor and nothing else but heavy armor. So what we want here is probably Adra armor. Also great armors to consider are all of these: Ill Payment, Arrow Breaker, Sanguine Plate, he carries many scars, White Crest, Hildrick's Coat, and the colored coat. Which one is the best? As I said, Adra, absolutely the best one. And you can also consider one of these three to play with: Breaker, Ill Payment, and White Crest Armor. They all provide different stats that highly depends on what items you plan to equip for the other gear. As far as weapons go, as I said, spears, the best one is Clothaliat, the next one in the next slot, it should be the Nulia. Okay, the rest of the good spears in the game are these three, and you're probably gonna wear all of them at some point in the game: the Ritez's Thorn, Conqueror's Spear, and the Loner's Lance. All of these are absolutely great, but the best one by far is this one, and I guess most of the game you're gonna spend with the Nulia. As far as shields go, the best shield in a game is a mini shield, Little Savior for the friendly aura, all defenses, and for you to be a lone mega tank, it's Daiklef. Yeah, the rest of the good shields, I mean, the best shield in the game is a Soulbound Dragon Mass shield if you wanna go with that one. The rest of the great shields would be these three: Old Geron Wall, Badragar Barricade, Ilfan Birnar Solace, and the shield that you're gonna use early in the game, the very first you're gonna find, is a Larder Door. And also two good shields to consider are the Less Tower and the Shura Supper Plate. But again, I recommend Little Savior by all means. Now we're done with armor and we're done with weapons. Rings, very simple: Fortitude, Reflex, Will, and Flat Deflection. Bracers, Siegebreaker Gauntlets for extra resolve and clear out. Cloak, nothing better than a Cloak of Comfort. And boots, we go with Vietro Formal Footwear, while belts gonna be Sentinel's Girdle for might. Now I also added replacements. All of the great belts in the game would be the Broad Belt of Power, it would be Flat Might Belt, it would be Constitution Belt, Knockdown Belt, Blunting Belt, Flat Resists, a Looped Rope that gives clarity, which is extra defenses on most of the terrifying things in a game, and the Girdle of Mortal Protection. You wanna be really OP, then it's the Belt of the Royal Deadfire Cannoneer. And I guess you're gonna end up with this one for the main character if you decide to play as a Fire Chanter tank, because this provides fire and only fire all around. Not only great stats, it's also a firebrand, a flame shield, a torrent of flame, and you are a flame godlike. Yeah, so it merges extremely well. As far as bracers go, if you want, you can also go with deflection bracers, but then you need to remove the deflection ring and put something like Gedbin Family Signet for the Lord's Authority to be even more powerful. That's one of the options. The other option is to put Dexterity, but then you're gonna need to remove Boots for Dexterity and play it with Consecrated Ground Boots, Sudden Fate, or extra healing when you get hit. Now this is your choice how you wanna play. I gave you plenty of options of what you can use and was the most powerful. Basically the most powerful is definitely combination of the Belt of Royal Deadfire with the Dragon's Mass Shield, with Clothaliat Spear, with Adra, okay, with Godbin Family, okay, for that self buff, and with Consecrated Ground Boots. That's how you should play, basically mega late game. But as far as early game goes, all you need to focus is on chanting and tanking. Now let's see how to play. Chants, what we want from Chants. Chants, very simple. Early game, Dalda Blade, comes soft, Winds of Death is the one you wanna spam. Mid game, it's the Dragon Trash, the Dragon Wailed. Late game, it's also the Dragon Trash, the Dragon Wailed. And later on, when you fight dragons and so on, it's with all your strength slay the beast. This is the one you're gonna chant on dragons. This is the one you're gonna chant non-stop mid game and onwards, and this is the one you're gonna chant early game. That's how simple it is as a tank chanter. As far as the spells go, early game you wanna summon the Shadow. Early game, again, when someone is in danger, you wanna paralyze enemies and buy 10 seconds of time with the sound of his voice, the killer's froze. Mid game, all the way towards the late game, what you want to do is summon the giants non-stop whenever you can, whenever they're available. And late game you want to summon spores, while mega late game you want to summon Call to His Bidding, the ancient instruments of death. That's how simplistic it is to play a tanky Chanter. Also, do not forget to trigger cautious attack and soak up damage. Tank enemies, melt them with your chants. This is a melee tank bard, in other words. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll be seeing you on the next one. Thanks for watching.